Hey, I'm here with my roommate, Sarah. And we're going to talk about what it's like to be a language assistant here in Spain and everything we wish we knew before we started this journey. We actually met through a program called RVF, and do you know what it stands for?
No.
Yeah, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
But it's basically connected with the Spanish government, and that way we're able to be language assistants here in the school system.
A company we paid to help us get the visa, help with transitioning, moving from the United States to here.
Yeah, like the middleman.
Yeah. Because you can do it through the Spanish government, and we have friends that did that, but
called NowCap.
Yeah,
at least through the United States and Canada, I think.
I think it's worth it to pay because one less thing to worry about. The other language assistant at my school did NowCap, and she arrived late. She got a lot of advice through YouTube, which is fine. That's what we're literally doing.
Yeah.
But I recommend RVF because it was just one less thing. They answered all my questions.
You don't even need to have studied English or anything about being a teacher to do this program. I studied international business in college. And what'd you study?
Yeah, I studied sports.
Yeah.
Exercise sports science. So
your background has nothing to do with it, but you do need a college degree to do it and to be a native English speaker.
This one you don't need the TEFL, the
TEFL,
the certificate to teach English. I think in other countries you do. You have the TEFL, don't you?
I got it just to get it, but it didn't really make a difference.
No, I didn't need it. I think it's helpful to have some Spanish knowledge. It doesn't say it's a requirement to know Spanish, but I think it's helpful. I think it's helpful.
Yeah, we knew some people that got by without it, and you'll definitely pick it up while you're here. But you're going to a country that only really speaks Spanish, so it helps to know.
For sure.
Especially when dealing with the banks, your phone plan, Wi-Fi.
Getting an apartment, and it's all right in the beginning, and it's important things. So I think having baseline Spanish is useful. So
we were both placed in Sevilla. It was our number one choice to come here, right? What was your second choice? Because you can choose up to 3.
You choose 3 regions. I think my second was the Basque Country.
Really?
País Vasco.
Okay. I think mine was actually the Basque too.
Really?
The second, because somebody recommended it to me. Yeah. We actually both live right in the city. We're walking distance, 10-minute walk to the city center.
Right.
But our schools are about a 40-minute commute to get there.
Right.
For me, I took the metro for 20 minutes and then walked for another 20 minutes to get there. There's also a bus that could take me right away there, for 45 minutes.
I just took a bus right to my pueblo. We all worked in pueblos, more or less. I don't mind the commute personally.
No, it goes by really quick. You can listen to audiobooks, right?
I could scroll on Instagram, read, listen to podcasts. The commute is still commute, but it's passive. Whereas back at home, if someone's I commute 40 minutes to work, it'd be I'm driving 40 minutes to work. $1. I paid 47 cents there and 47 cents back.
And you get a little transportation card here, and it makes it super easy. Just tap on and tap off. I taught in a high school, a public high school. So it actually was middle school and high school combined together. So it was ages 12, I would say, or maybe 13 to 18. And those were the students I was placed with. We definitely had different experiences.
Yeah.
It was great, but I had awkward teenagers or teenagers that would tell me too much information kind of stories. It was kind of the younger ones that were the middle schoolers who were more interested in me, and I had to kind of make more of an effort to make those relationships and gain the trust from the older kids.
And I was in a primary school, so elementary school, but we had infantil, which is toddlers. So I taught kids anywhere between 3 years old and 12 years old. I had issues communicating with the kids because their level of English was super low, especially 3-year-olds. I'm singing the ABCs, I'm telling them colors. 6th grade I could communicate more with, but still it's not to the same level where it was pretty how are you? What is your favorite sport? But I really liked it too, but in a different aspect.
Yeah, we both didn't have a lot of prep. We didn't come up with a lot of lesson plans. There was one class that I was in charge of the whole class and taught grammar, but that's pretty rare, I'd say. Most of the time I just would go into my classes and ask them how their weekend was and just practice English conversation.
We teach the English section of different
Each class,
subjects.
yeah.
Different subjects. Like you taught history, right?
Yeah.
Like I did a lot of science.
Yeah. I was in a lot of gym classes.
Yeah, gym.
Yeah.
So you just kind of like teach the English vocabulary that like goes with that subject.
Granted, everyone's experience is different, and there's some people who have to lesson plan a lot for their schools, and that was like an issue for them where they had to talk to somebody about getting less, like working hours outside
or like
class.
more prep hours,
Yeah.
and like be paid for that. But
not us.
it depends.
Yeah,
it depends.
We had it pretty good.
Yeah.
Also, most of schools say they're bilingual, but it's not always true. A lot of the classes I was in was with a bilingual teacher, and they knew very little English. So this again is where Spanish definitely comes into help.
Yeah.
And you may be at a bilingual school, but even the other teachers around in the staff room will not know English.
Totally.
So to make more connections at the school, it really helps to know Spanish.
Totally.
Yeah.
I spoke almost exclusively Spanish with most teachers. Even my bilingual coordinator, like he speaks English and Spanish. And even with the English teacher, I spoke Spanish because her English was also like meh. It was nice to see my progression in Spanish too, as like I was able to like connect better with the teachers and like get to know them on like a deeper level because I could have these conversations with them and like kind of understand what they were talking about and then like be involved in the conversation.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things we struggled too with, like culture shock. Like we both came with a knowledge of Spanish, but when there's so many conversations going on at once, like it's going to be hard to understand and you're going to feel really left out at first.
It can feel isolating. So like you really have to get out of your comfort zone and like not be afraid to like be embarrassed. Like if you make a mistake, like they get you're learning Spanish. There's 12 teachers in a room and you're the only one that doesn't speak Spanish, like they're not going to speak English. So you just have to deal with feeling a little bit uncomfortable.
You definitely have to make the effort to extend yourself. Yeah. Especially like if they only think that you understand English and they're not comfortable speaking English, they're most likely not going to talk to you unless you talk to them first.
They're really accommodating. Like if you want to learn or like if you want to have a conversation, they'll slow down, especially if it's one-on-one. I found that is where I got the most practice than like speaking Spanish, like conversationally.
I think throughout the year, like we definitely made bonds with like certain teachers and that made the experience so much greater.
Yeah.
Because you really feel like you mesh in with a community here in Spain versus just being a tourist here.
Like you're working with Spanish people, like you get to hear about their lives. You feel more, like you said, integrated into a community. Yeah. Which is really nice.
And they'll take you in. Like I got invited to the feria from one of my teachers' casetas. We go to lunch and dinners.
My gym teacher, she invited me to her house because she wanted to make me like a Spanish dish because she knew I wouldn't make it. So if you put yourself out there, like it's worth it.
You'll reap the reward.
Yes. Both of our schools had other language assistants. Like I wasn't the only one in mine, and obviously you weren't the only one in yours. Mine was also from the United States though, so it was nice when we were both there. We could both like speak in English, and if I ever need a break from Spanish, or just someone that like gets what you're going through is really nice to have.
Yeah. Mine was from England, and so we spoke the same language, but it was cool to learn about his culture and how like he would say even just words differently or how they would do things differently. I think it really helps with assimilating in the process because it's like there's somebody else going through the same like feelings, emotions as you are, so you can really relate with them throughout the whole school year.
I think it was really nice to have. Our weeks were like not that long. It was 14 hours. The commute always made it seem like we worked more, but honestly we didn't.
No. And there are times where teachers wouldn't even show up, so we were welcome to leave or use our time with another teacher.
The job is like you wake up, you commute to school, you speak English, and you come home. So it's like I never felt like I had to put so much effort into my job.
Yeah.
The job itself of like speaking English like wasn't hard.
Right. And so for all that work we did, we got €800 a month, which doesn't sound like a lot because it's not really. But like it was enough to like cover basic necessities and like maybe a weekend trip. But other than that, you were fully out, like no saving. We had savings before we came, and that's how we were able to afford most of our trips. I think the only way you could really live off of this is like if you don't go on any trips.
Right.
Really.
You could do a weekend trip, like you said. Yeah. Tutoring is a good opportunity.
That's true. Yeah.
I tutored, so I found my tutoring job. My coordinator's nephew, who's 9, and that's why I tutor. I got the job like the week that I moved to Spain. So that worked out. I know one of our roommates, she was on like a website, like where you put your profile out there, and then like parents can
find you. Yeah.
But so many kids, especially so many parents want their kids to learn English. You can find tutoring jobs.
Yeah, a lot of
and
people
make extra money. So if you want to do like a second weekend trip,
depends how much you do.
That's
because you were doing what, twice a week, and then Maddie was doing what, four times a week, and she was making an extra 100, 200. Yeah. She was making a good amount of pocket change. So it just depends how much you work and tutor after hours.
And it's so cheap to travel, like in Europe too.
Yeah.
Like we would find cheap flights and we're like, let's go this weekend. So it's fun to like be spontaneous and find a cheap flight or a cheap bus and just be like, let's go.
So for flights, we used Ryanair. For buses, Omeo. Welling sometimes for flights.
A couple times. But Ryanair has like a page where it's called, if you go under Explore and then Plan, it has Fare Finder. So if you put in like specific dates you want to go, if you're flexible, it'll tell you the cheapest like flights to wherever from where you're starting. So that was always nice to kind of just like, oh, let me look. Overall, I do recommend coming with savings. Do you?
Yes, 1,000%. Yeah.
Especially in the beginning, you're spending like so much money.
You're moving in somewhere new. You're setting up like bank accounts, the phone plans, the Wi-Fi, all that stuff you need, and it's just a lot of money up front.
It's just like the security deposit for your apartment. Like we had to pay like a real estate agent fee. Like it's just a lot in the beginning, and you're like so excited you're in a new place. Like I remember I did a lot of shopping in the beginning. It's cheap and easy to eat out. Like a beer is €1.50. Tinto Verano is like €2.50. A coffee's €1.50. Tapas are like €3 or €4. Like they make it easy to go out.
Yeah, like we just met our friend Kaisa for coffee and dessert, and it was like $3 each. So cheap to be social here.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to talk about pros and cons. Obviously, there's a lot more pros, so we're just going to go with the cons, something you may not know before starting this process.
The Spanish culture of like getting things done. In the US, it's very like, oh, I know I can go and I can get this done today. Here, it's not like that. If you go to the bank, sometimes they're like, nah, I don't feel like helping you. If it's like 1:30 and they close at 2. Or one time I went and I didn't have an appointment, but I didn't need one. And then he's like, can you come back tomorrow? And he's like, I have another appointment. And he went to get coffee with a guy.
The stress, the like quick.
Yeah, like get this
America.
Done.
It's not a thing here.
Not a thing.
It's very like, no pasa nada. We get to it when we get to it.
Yeah, definitely we get to it when we get to it.
Yeah.
In the beginning too, it's like a ton of paperwork in Spanish. And like we said, like you don't need to know Spanish as a requirement to do this program, the language assistant program. But like here you're encountering so much paperwork. You're changing your phone plan. You're finding an apartment. You have to talk to so many landlords, and they usually don't speak English, so it's a lot. Even if you do know Spanish, like I just remember feeling exhausted, like just from existing day to day, and like you're no longer on autopilot. Like everything is taking work to figure out.
That's so true. Yeah, like easy things back home. Now you have to think extra about it.
Right, like or like for a passport picture, like I'll go to Walgreens. That's automatic. Like or how I think of it in the U.S. And here you're like, I need this, but you don't have like that background like information to know what to do immediately. Like you always have to. It's just always something new.
Yeah, like here for passport photos, you have to go to a photo booth.
Yeah.
You have to find a random photo booth. You don't even really know where they are and take one there.
And then like there's print stores. Like you go to print at like they're all over the place, but you have to go papeleria. Tobacco stores. That's where we got our bus card. It's a tobacco store. I would never think that, but here it's like, you go to the tobacco store. Of course you go to the tobacco store. I'm sorry.
You don't smoke, but of course you
go to the tobacco store for a bus card.
Like even coming with some Spanish, there's the accent barrier, the slang barrier. Andalusian Spanish is very different from Latin American Spanish, which we're taught in the United States.
Totally.
So that just like adds another layer of stress at times.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is a lot in the beginning, I feel like. As we got used to it, like it obviously got easier. And it honestly is character building. Like you learn to just like let go. Like I used to be
that serious.
Right. Like I used to be such like a control freak maybe. I don't know. I'm still working on it. But like here you just have to like take off the reins because like really there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, especially with like all that stuff in the beginning, it's just it's easy to get wrapped up in.
Now for the pros.
The pros, which are more than the cons, because the cons don't really exist anymore.
The cons, they go away once you get comfortable here. You start to understand yourself. You build a routine here. You start to understand where to get everything you need.
And maybe it's not so much a con as like a learning experience.
Yeah, that's true. Obviously, our favorite
is travel.
Ability to travel.
Yes.
Yeah, we're just like so close to everything here. And it's so funny because coming here, they're like, Europeans are like, you guys think everything's so close and so cheap and so easy to travel. And it's like,
it is.
For us, yes, because the United States is so big. We have to fly so far just to even come out here. And it's like to have it so accessible, it's like a game changer.
And now it's like, a 2-hour flight to Italy. Like, I think the farthest one took was to Amsterdam, and that was
4 hours.
Less than 4. Yeah, less than 4 hours.
Yeah. So many spontaneous trips of just like, let's do something. We don't have anything to do this weekend. We have another day off. Let's go out. Let's go do something. Let's go to the beach. Like there's so many options. Whether it's bus, train, plane, boat. Yeah. We've taken it all and it's all been super easy.
Yeah, the public transportation is so nice. Like I was in Italy with one of my friends from the United States and we missed our flight because of public transportation. The train, Italy train. But we were able to take a different flight to Madrid instead of Sevilla and find a bus back. Like, if you think about that in the States, like, number one, there's not going to be another flight that day, normally, to where you're wanting to go. Yeah. And to find a bus, or we could do a bus or a train, and the bus just worked out better, but like, in the matter of an hour, like, we were still able to get home.
In a sense, better than studying abroad, because you're really just within the community here. You really build a life in a different country. I studied in Australia for a bit, and that was an amazing experience, but I was not as culturally immersed as I am here. And you never studied abroad?
I studied abroad in Spain, actually, and not for like a month. So definitely different. We did a lot of like tours and like had the earphone and whatever. That's not my favorite thing, but it was what made me realize I want to come back. So
that's true.
But here it's like you work with Spanish people. Like we live in a neighborhood. We like have a community of friends. Like we know the people at the gym or at the cafe across the street. Like you just feel like you're part of daily life and get to understand their culture.
And just because it's so culturally different than the United States, it's like you want to be so immersed in it. Like being invited to like a private caseta is something we would have never been able to do if we didn't know people here.
Right.
Yeah, like little things like that, it makes a difference.
Just like putting yourself out there and being curious about where you are.
People will take you in. The more open you are, the more open they will be, and people are just very hospitable here,
especially in the south of Spain. They love, like, they're so open. Like, abrázame, besitos.
Yeah, like, it's very touchy here. So personal space is like not a thing, but it's like in the best way possible. You feel like more loved here.
I feel like you feel really connected with the people. Like every day I go to work and I get at least one hug. So what's been cool here too is like Brianna and I met like
here in Spain.
I don't know, we would have never met in the United States.
No.
Like we said in the beginning, like I studied exercise science, you studied international business. Yeah. You've traveled a lot. I have traveled more in the United States, but
and like so many of our other friends here, like completely different backgrounds, and to be like met in this one way was so eye-opening, because it's like we all came from these different backgrounds, but we all had like the same kind of mindset of like wanting to expand our worlds, experience a different culture. And it just shows you the different possibilities of life. Like things don't have to be so narrow-minded.
Totally. Like life is more than like the American dream, which it was interesting because like I was one of the only people in my friend group that moved abroad. They all like either went to grad school or like got a 9-to-5 and like
are getting married.
Are getting married, settling down. And it's just like, oh, am I like not, I don't want to do that. And now everyone here is like, you can do this, you can do that. Like you're gonna au pair for the summer.
Even just people you meet while you're here. Like it doesn't even have to be Americans. Like Rabin, she met a cool guy.
Yes. I had one date with him, and I still talk about him.
He's a good example of this.
He's lived in the U.S. He's lived in Berlin. He's writing a memoir. He's like does poetry. He learned English when he was 18, and now he's like 24 and speaks really good English. Did a road trip in South America, and he still works like on rocket ships. Like you can make your life however you want it to look. It doesn't have to be, like you said, so like the path that everyone travels down.
Yeah.
Especially coming right after college.
Yeah,
like,
where you don't know what to do with your life.
Right, like I just feel so like full of like optimism that like my life is mine to create.
So walkable here.
Yeah.
Like the United States, it's so funny. It's like something's a 10-minute drive and we're like, okay, let's go. Here it's like a 30-minute walk and it's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Like in the US, I feel like we just drive everywhere because it's convenient. We all have cars. But here it's like you walk everywhere because it's so convenient.
Yeah. And it's a pretty walk.
Yeah.
Like it's not even like
walking through beautiful architecture streets by the horses.
Yeah, with street music.
Fountains.
Yeah. You usually get like 15,000 a day.
Which is insane because in the US, yeah, right.
Right. You have to like go on a walk, like an intentional walk to get steps. Whereas here it's like, oh, let's go to the grocery store. We're going to walk. Like, but we also have 3 grocery stores within like 5 minutes walking from our house. Like, it makes it easier. Grocery store, the gym, like your daily necessities are close by.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it's a little farther, public transport's so easy. Like everything's just, it's just easy to get around here, and you feel so safe. Like coming from 2 women from the United States, being here has felt so safe. Like we walk around at night all the time, like granted in groups, sometimes alone, and we feel completely fine.
Right.
Here.
I feel safer in a different country than like in our own country where we're from.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that until coming here. Like I was just so used to being like, oh, don't walk out at night like by yourself. Like you know, pepper spray. Like we're told to have all these precautions when we go out at night, especially as women. Here, it's like not like that. Obviously, you need to be safe and precautions everywhere and have common sense, but you just kind of feel this weight lifted off because it's like not everything's a threat here, if that makes sense.
Like if I'm walking at night and like you see a person, I'm not like, oh, like who's that? What are they gonna do? Yeah. It's just like
the city,
and there's also there's people everywhere all the time.
The city comes alive at night anyway, so like there's just always so many people around. Like you're never really alone. Their
culture is just like, let's go out in the streets. Like the life is outside their apartment.
It's very social, interactive.
It's actually super cool to see like kids on their bikes and like their parents drinking a beer like over here. And
I think the one thing that surprised me a lot coming here is just how many of older people are out in the streets. I feel like in the US you don't see many active older people. Like you know, here it's like it's a whole community with their grandchildren, with their family. Like everyone's involved. When you go out to eat, like the whole family is there. Like,
and it's not uncommon, especially on our street. Like we live in such a cool street, but you see people walking and it's not uncommon to see 3 generations. Like the grandparents, the parents, and like the grandparents pushing a stroller, or the grandkids on their bikes. It's like really cool to see.
So now some advice coming from us, first years. Finished, complete. We're basically professionals at this. So,
and we were both really happy with our experience. So we're qualified.
Take it from us. We had a great time.
Yes, we loved every second. If you want to love every second, just
follow this advice.
So I think getting accustomed to the Spanish schedule and like their just way of life is really helpful.
Yeah, in America, it's very wake up at 9, go to bed at 10.
You wake up at 9?
Oh no, sorry. You get up at 7 to go to work at 9, to get home at 5, to stay up till 10 maybe. Yeah, and then do it all over again. Here
and like meal times, like breakfast at 7, lunch at noon, dinner at 5 or 6.
Yeah,
they could never.
They could
literally never. And places aren't even open to eat at 5 or 6.
Yeah, you honestly just wake up later here. I mean, obviously people wake up early, but with our schedule, we didn't have to. Siesta is very important. You can't really do anything from 2 to 5. So
lunch is their biggest meal, and then they rest, take a nap if you want. And then kind of restart at 5 with the second half of their day.
And it goes all the way till at least midnight. Even on weekdays, and then even later. And the crazy thing too is like, again, you still see all generations up. Like newborn babies at like 1 a.m. and really grandparents.
I'll say like, oh, like my roommates went to bed at 9 tonight, and everyone's like, oh, what? Like,
it's like not a thing. I don't know. Like I think they don't sleep that much here, but maybe they sleep during a siesta.
Yeah, they definitely don't sleep 8 hours.
Yeah, it's like very in the US, like get your 8 hours, get your rest. And here it's very like, no, just live your life and enjoy it.
Yeah, and use siesta.
Yeah.
So I think it's a balance. I found like myself tired some days, or I don't love taking a nap personally. I always kind of feel tired after it. So like I used siesta sometimes to work out, and then I would have tutoring in the afternoon.
Great time about having so much time when you are a language assistant is you can pick up new hobbies, try new things, explore yourself a little bit more. Like you went to the gym. We had a friend hit up knitting.
Yeah.
Like I started my YouTube channel.
Right.
Everyone, or we had a roommate with a blog, TikToks. Like everyone's using this time to really discover themselves and use it to their advantage.
And it's also nice like to use the time to like explore the city. Like there's always something going on.
Always,
Like I said, everything happens outside. So like to walk through the park. I met one of my really good friends like through a running group chat, so it was fun to spend time with her then. So
just say yes to as much as you can here, because we're never going to be like this age again in this time of our lives with these people that we find ourselves with here. And the more you say yes, the more you're going to really enjoy it at the end. You're going to say, wow, I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I at least tried it. Because even if you say yes to something that maybe you didn't end up liking, at least now you know yourself a little bit better. You know you didn't like that.
Everything's a learning experience. Whether you like it, whether you don't like it, you're figuring yourself out.
No one brings lunch to school. That's just like an FYI. So you really only eat like a little breakfast.
Second breakfast is at school.
Yeah.
So snack. I like brought an apple and a peach. Or something.
I would bring fruit, and that's normal. And then my teachers would go out to have breakfast every morning, get like hamon or we had a restaurant across the street. After school is when everyone goes to eat lunch,
even the
students,
kids,
the teachers.
I think it was hard in the beginning to compare. Like we said, like Spain is so different from America, so I think coming in with an open mind and just like letting go of all expectations that something similar to America, like it's not. Let
everything you know about America out the door and just let yourself be immersed in this new culture, because once you do, you'll have a much easier time. The more that you can become flexible with your schedule here and enjoy it, the more you'll enjoy it.
And they're just suggestions. Like you can certainly, like I still love to work out. Like that's what I studied. I made time for that still every day. Like I was still able to like make time for what was important to me, because it goes by really fast. Like we're filming this and I can't believe like it's because it's over. And I feel like it went by so fast because we did say yes to things. We did like enjoy our time here and fully immerse ourselves here. But now that it's at the end, we're like, wait, what do you mean it's over? Because we were just like so in it. So just like, or even like romanticizing my like walk to the bus stop, or like even the bus, like it's mediocre things that I really like enjoyed.
Like a saying we would say all throughout this time was like, oh my god, I can't believe we're living in Spain. Like, oh my god, our life is a dream. Like all these like great things are happening to us on the daily. And with that said, of course, there's still challenges.
Right. When I remember in the beginning, one of my friends is like, oh, so like you just work like 14 hours and then like travel and have fun. And it's like, yes. But we said, as we said in the beginning, like it's such an adjustment, and like it's taken us this long to like be able to give these suggestions, because we've had to like live through it and learn about ourselves.
And you know, it's hard being away from everything. You know? Sometimes it's challenging to not have your favorite comfort food or be with your family when you need a hug, or
especially the time change. Like I remember, and like I had an issue at school like in the middle of the year that was like really tough for me. I couldn't just call my mom and like have her like, or like hug my mom, because like there was a time difference, and when I needed her she was asleep. And like we say these things now because we've had the best time, but like there are times where it's just really hard, like being away, or like seeing your friends. Like my two best friends are both in PT school in the same university, and they see each other all the time, and it feels hard like to be away and like see them together. Like there's challenges in different ways, but obviously overall we've had such an amazing experience.
You get what you put into it. Like you're gonna get out of it what you put in.
So if you focus like only on missing your family or like that longing to be home, like it's easy to kind of sit with that, but
you just have to keep pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Like that's like this whole journey has just been constantly pushing ourselves out of our comfort zones, doing things that maybe we wouldn't normally do. And yes, it's uncomfortable, but in the end it's so rewarding,
right? Because
the more you do something that's uncomfortable, the more it starts to feel natural.
Totally. It's not like a placeholder, like a gap in your life. Like it is part of your life. Like I've been able like to confide in you, and like we've become so close because we've been like family.
Everyone asks us like, did you guys know each other before this experience? We're like, no. Like this is all because of this experience, and doing things that are out of your comfort zone with new people. Like it definitely brings you closer, because only like we can really relate on this kind of experience that our friends at home wouldn't be able to. So it's a student visa, not a working visa, and we recommend to apply pretty ASAP. I mean, I applied actually kind of early. I applied in July.
Super early.
Yeah, I applied in July the prior year. When did you apply?
I applied in December. So
okay.
Around Christmas time, and then like I think the due date for RVF was January 20th or something, like end of January, and then got accepted in May. Overall experience, like it exceeded my expectations. I think
tenfold.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think going into this, like you think like, oh, I'm gonna go teach English in Spain, and honestly, like I remember going in having like no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
And, like I'm really close to the teachers. Like I got so many cards leaving, like from the kids, and like so many hugs, and like I'll really miss them. And I think they taught me a lot too. The teaching part exceeded my expectations. Like friendships I found exceeded my expectations. Like I just feel so grateful to have like had this experience, honestly.
I highly recommend it to anyone who's even thinking about it. Like you should just do it, because
just do it.
I know it's nerve-wracking to step away from like, the 9 to 5 or like the steady job right
or, like
after
what
college.
everybody else is doing, but do it. Like
I remember I was so nervous for that, going off like the traditional path, but it's been so rewarding.
You won't regret it.
No.
You need change to grow, I think.
Yeah.
Which it's hard now because like everything's changing again. I don't really know how to put it into words.
Yeah.
It's just
you just have to come here and experience it yourself.
And it's what you make of it. It's what you make of it, totally. Like I feel like my world's opened, but I also came with an open mind and like that curiosity to like want to learn. Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope this helped and hope you take the leap to Spain.
Sí, buen viaje.
Bien viaje. Bye.
Bye.